Hey, it's Min Simon, and we're hanging out at the Kelly Alexander Show.
What's up, y'all? I'm Kelly Clarkson.
Hey, it's Steve McRae.
Hey, I'm Josh from the band Need to Breathe.
I'm Olivia Lunny.
We are so excited to welcome to the Kelly Alexander Show, Akon. Hi.
What up, Kels?
Hey, I'm Judy Gold.
And I'm hanging out with the Kelly Alexander Show.
This is Jordan, and I'm hanging out on the Kelly Alexander Show.
I'm Rob, and I'm hanging out on the Kelly Alexander Show.
I'm hanging out with the Kelly Alexander Show right now.
Jealous?
We are super excited to welcome to the Kelly Alexander Show rising Canadian pop star Mint Simon, who's just released their debut EP called Chimera. Mint's songs and co-writes have actually landed in television and film and commercials, including Grey's Anatomy, Orange is the New Black, and the list goes on and on. Mint Simon also is going to be performing at Osheaga this year, which is super cool, and we cannot wait to talk to them all about it. Mint, thanks so much for joining us on the show. We really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
So, first of all, I always like to start this way because I think it's important to get a barometer of where a person comes from. So, like, how did music become your path in life?
I grew up as a theater kid. I played a lot of sports. I think I was like one of those kids who just tried a lot of different things. And I loved performing. I loved doing theater. I was very class clown slash ADHD child, like energy. And I think pretty creative from a young age. And I just happened to know how to sing. And so my parents are not like stage parent-y vibes at all. They kind of were pretty hands off, like do whatever, you want.
Hmm.
And so I did theater for a while, and then when I was like 23, I maybe 22, I sort of started like writing songs and just sort of playing around, and then I joined a band, and that's sort of how I got into it. But I've always just gone to a ton of shows. I was a big like Montreal indie show goer, especially as a teenager. And honestly, Osheaga was like a big, big, big place for me that I just was like, oh, I want to do that.
That's cool. And so it's going to be a full circle moment when I ask you about that in a bit.
Yeah.
And speaking of your parents, were they, I know you said they weren't like stage parents, but were they or are they like super supportive of you following this path because it's not easy.
Yeah, I'd say that they are. I'd say, I've been on many different life paths and they've, had to kind of roll with maybe who they thought I would be in many different ways. And so they've, been adjusting. And I think at this point now, yeah, definitely, I feel like I have their support.
Cool. Now let's talk about the EP. Like you had mentioned that it's like a journey to find your way home to yourself. And so um, was there a moment during recording where you found like you actually had found home again or found your home for the first time?
That I had found
Yeah,
that.
like found yourself, found your home, found your, I guess like maybe peaceful place in life.
Yeah. I would say maybe when the EP was like done. Like I think that throughout it, I had written these songs started being written sort of over a course of a few years. So
Hmm.
I had sort of gone through like a lot of mental health stuff and just clunky pandemic stuff. Like
Hmm.
just it really like did a number on me. I live alone. I've been alone, lived alone for the whole time and like throughout. And it played like a big factor, I think, in my sort of mental health and just like finally stopping, finally slowing down, having gender affirming surgery, coming to understand myself a lot better. But the grief that comes with that, the pain that comes with that, the joy that comes with that, and just all the relationships in my life, like everything just felt like it came to a head, and like the grief was just pretty insurmountable at some point. And I think while making the album, I was like definitely still in a bit of the struggle, but as it was coming to an end was sort of the same timing as me sort of coming out of a lot of that.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's been really nice to celebrate it now and being in just a different place and being just more grounded, calmer, and still being able to perform those songs and kind of tap into those emotions that I was feeling when I was writing them without it feeling like it's just completely taking over me.
When you produced the track listing for the EP, did it change like a lot or did you kind of always know this was the way that the EP would roll? Because like if you were dealing with a lot of different things, I'm wondering if you had certain songs that maybe at one point where you're like, oh yeah, this is gonna make the EP, but then 2 months later maybe it didn't feel like the right song to have on there. So how did that roll?
Totally. Like I think I knew I wanted to do about 5 or 6 songs and like I had just some stuff in the pipeline and I was trying to figure out just like what went together. I had some songs that I didn't end up choosing and like it's so interesting because to me the EP feels very cohesive in how I chose each song, but if you listen to it, it's like it travels through a journey of, sonic. It's a bit sonically all over the place. But for me, it really like lives in the same world and it really reflects my sort of all over the place or, kind of fluidity in everything that I do, gender, genre, whatever it is. So
Hmm.
I feel like choosing those songs, it all just really ended up making sense once I kind of understood what the theme was and how it was like, okay, I'm growing. So I'm just gonna, I don't feel the pressure to choose stuff that like fits a certain box.
And when you say sonically all over the place, like, because to describe you, I think in a way, it's easy to say pop artist, but like, do you describe yourself differently? Like, do you think you fit more into an R&B box or like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
do you even like being put into a box because maybe you're still even finding your sound?
I think that it's easy for people to put me in a box and sometimes I just have to because of, it just trying to explain anything. But I think the reality is like I pull from so many different influences, the 80s, the 90s, indie, alt. I play guitar, I play keys, I play synth. I have like just a wide range, I think, and I come from like a band life. So I really love to play my instruments. I love to play this, play the instruments that are on the tracks. And I think pop can be many different things. Pop can be really heavily produced. It can be um, more instrument based. So I think that like pop to me, for a while I was sort of straying and I'm like, it just means popular, right? Like it just means, like people call the Beatles pop, right? Like it's pop of what pop means to you. And so for me, it is pop in my world, but it's also alternative and it also has a lot of indie influences.
And when we talk about you being influenced by the 80s and the 90s, for example, with this particular set of songs for this EP, like which artists are we talking about?
Well, like the Belinda Carlisle, Cyndi Lauper, Prince, Fleetwood Mac. There's some heavy Fleetwood Mac. I mean, I'm always influenced by Stevie Nicks. I just feel like I can't help it. I grew up, my parents just always had, we actually grew up living in the Bahamas part-time. And that we had no internet, no nothing. So their friends would just send them like full recordings of MTV. They would just press record all day. So they just had MTV on all day. So all I would watch is like music videos in the 80s and the 90s. I grew up in the 90s, but I was born in the 80s. So I think I was just like watching this stuff over and over again and
Hmm.
it just like influenced me so much as a person. My favorite artist as a kid was Tracy Chapman. I had Tracy Chapman posters all over my room. I don't know how people didn't know I was gay, but that's besides the point. It's like, calling from inside the house.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I was always like listening to just stuff that felt out of like my generation at the time. I mean, I
Hmm.
still listen to Backstreet Boys, Spice Girls, of course.
Who doesn't like a
Uh,
good Spice Girl?
I mean, literally all of them, so uh yeah.
That's cool. Now, let's talk about the year 2007 because I think it was a big year for you in many ways. Um, like, do you look back on that year as like kind of juxtaposition between like positive and negative things, or and like has that influenced like a lot of your music because of that year?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the first year out of high school, like being out of high school. So I think that it was just, it's like the year of like, okay, who am I? Like, who am I? And I already knew that I was gay and I'd come out quietly. And then in 2007, I'd really come out to like everybody that I knew, family and included. And I feel like it was just like a transition year. And also originally I called it 2007 because I felt like it had this really indie pop feeling. of like that specific time. And then I was also like, that's interesting. It's the year that I came out. It's also the, all these things. So it kind of all ended up tying together. And it feels really fitting for the song.
Amazing. Joining us on the Kelly Alexander Show is Mint Simon. Don't forget to check them out on their social media at Mint Simon Says. And we're going to talk a little bit about heading off to Osheaga and the Phono Festival coming up in just a bit. I did want to ask you though about like we talked about theater being your first kind of creative language, I guess we'll call it that. Um, how do you think that your theatrical background has assisted you in being a recording artist and also a performing artist?
So much, so much. Like I think the way that I craft, even the order of my album or the order of my set, like for me, I'm like I am taking this is a show. Like I'm telling a story. Like I'm very picky about the order of my songs when I perform because I want to go on a journey and I want to take the audience with me, and that exchange is so important. I'm very comfortable on stage. I'm very comfortable like with an audience. Like I think since I was a kid, I just like I loved having an audience. So I feel like it's been really helpful for me to just grasp what that relationship is to an audience and like knowing that, every show can feel different. Every time someone listens to your music, it can feel different. Like there is like so many theatrics to it. I also just love the drama of songwriting and how it's just, your emotions like either dial down into something so specific or like really heightened and really theatrical. And I love to play with my voice and just like go get a little wacky. And I think it, yeah, it definitely helps.
Is Lady Gaga an influence for you in any shape or form?
You know, I don't think that she is, but she's obviously somebody that I've listened to for so long. But I never really categorized her as an influence. Maybe because it's like the year, like the eight, like I think at that time I was listening to a lot of like indie alternative music. My love for pop like only developed a little bit later.
Okay. Yeah,
But
just because I know
I
she
love her.
seems
And it's drama. She's drama. I like I live for that for sure.
yeah, well, like she just seems to be such a good barometer of like being a recording artist, being a musician, and then using the theatrics to get her like stuff across to her fans and stuff. And I think the new album's really good. So I was just wondering if that had touched upon you. Like you've talked before about living kind of in between Ferris Bueller and Prince. Um,
Yeah.
and obviously these are, especially Prince in a way, like at least to me, is like a good example of being rebellious because he never followed, I think, any rules. He just did what he did. Um, what does that in between space look for you? Like look like for you being that kind of Ferris Bueller and then Prince and like putting it all together?
I think that like Ferris Bueller is me on my day-to-day life, and then Prince is like this heightened theatrical version. Not that Ferris, they are both actually so day-to-day and so theatrical. Like they both carry both things, just kind of at different ends of the spectrum. And Prince's androgyny and Ferris Bueller's like very boyish charm that feels like really aligned and like affirming for me when I think about that for myself.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
like when you are like when you were working on the EP, and we talked a bit about the track listing and stuff like that, like do you have certain ideas in your head like to kind of not to have a roadmap for you, but like if you take Prince and kind of view what he did with certain like projects that he had, certain albums, did that influence you in a way of like how you were going to put together your stuff? Like because I think sometimes people, I know like I'm a huge Janet Jackson fan, which all of my audience knows, and it's been interesting to listen how she gets inspired for her albums, and I think her and her producers listen to a bunch of music and then it kind of fires them up and then they go. So like is it that you sit there and listen to Prince or other artists and that kind of fires you up and gets your own creative juices going?
Definitely. Like I definitely go through like the cycles of writing and creating and then putting stuff out and then kind of going back into into my head and into just the listening space and then back to creating. And there's always this flow that happens. I think it's just like I really feel like I know there's this pattern that, people follow, especially in pop music in their careers, and I just don't care. Like maybe that sounds, I care, but like I just am sort of like, I really am gonna do what I want. Like I'm not 20, I'm not 20 years old, I'm not here to, compete with anybody who's 20. I don't feel competitive about any of my work ever. Like I am always like, you win, I win, we all win. Like this is just, that's just always been my vibe. And so I'm like, if like so much of my project has just been I think I'm just gonna put this song out now. And I just like would do it. And so it's like I'm thinking about it. There's a bit of impulsivity, but I think that's what kind of keeps it exciting for me. But with this EP, I actually like I felt like I had a really long plan to from the time I decided to like that I was gonna do it to the time that it's been released. And so that's been exciting to sort of have more time take my time with thinking about what it means to me. And sometimes you think you know what the album means to you, and then you're playing the songs, or like, people are hearing them, and you're kind of like, whoa, suddenly that song that I wrote about that person is actually so much about this person right now. So it's like wild how that can sort of transform when the songs have been written for a long time.
And now that the album's out too, like what has the reaction been like for you, like seeing your fans like, eat this up and getting new fans? Like what has it been like now that it's kind of like, the EP is no longer yours in a way?
Yeah, it's really not. And I have been really excited. Like, wasn't expecting 2007 to be sort of the track that everyone's like, oh my God, I love that song. It's my favorite on the EP. So it's kind of fun to get to see. And I'm really not precious. Like, I'm excited by that. I'm excited I really believe that art is like, otherwise I would just do it in my bedroom and I would just listen to it myself if I just only wanted my experience of it. But I love seeing what other people's experiences are of it and how they hear it and what they think. They'll be like, oh, is this like about this? Or even friends will be like, is this song about this person? And I'm just like, yes or no, or not, or not, like it's just fun to have people sort of just have their own experience and relationship to the songs, and they get to take on a new life.
Now we have to talk about you being in Montreal, a Montrealer, and getting the opportunity to, and you've earned it, obviously, because they don't just put anybody on the stage, but like to perform at Osheaga, like that's a big deal. It's a world-renowned festival. It shares the same weekend with Lollapalooza. We often bounce artists back and forth. So many people know about this festival, not just us here in Montreal. So, how did the opportunity come to get this slot to be able to perform this year?
Uh, I just asked. Like, I know that sounds wild, but I've been working really hard and I played with my band in 2016, and I've just been working slowly on this solo project. And I've never asked before because I didn't feel like I wanted to know that I was ready. I wanted to be releasing a body of work. I wanted it to make sense, even though, of course, I've wanted to play every single year. And last year, when I was at Osheaga one of the days or two of the days, I've been going every single year since I was like, since the first Osheaga. I've worked it just to be able to get in when I couldn't afford it. Like it was very important. It's been a very important part of my musical journey for sure. And
Hmm.
when I was releasing the EP, I was like, I'm going in. I'm going in. I'm this like last year I was like, yeah, I was just telling everybody, I'm like, oh, I'm playing next year. I'm playing next year. Like I just was convincing myself so hard. And so I'm really happy that it came through. And I feel really like a lot of gratitude. I love Montreal. I love being from here. I love my home. So it feels really special that I get to do this. And it feels like a huge celebration of the EP for me. Like bucket list goal, and like yeah, couldn't be happier about it, honestly.
And speaking of Montreal, I'm glad you brought it up because, in the position I'm in, I interview so many artists from across Canada and a lot of artists from the States, which I appreciate. Um, and so many artists in Canada, it's either like Toronto or they're in Vancouver but they all love like Montreal. Like even like I was recently chatting with, Grammy winner Alessia Cara, and she wrote not this album that she just released, but the one before, a bunch of it was written here during pandemic and all that kind of stuff. And there's just always such love for Montreal. How come you chose to stay and not go to Nashville or not go to New York or LA or Toronto?
I think like so much of me, like I'm a very social person. I'm a very like chosen family person. All my people are here and I really need a lot of that support around me as I like work and I love being able to leave and go and you have the most special experiences, short bursts in LA, 2 weeks, and you're kind of like, oh, you're in the magic, anything can happen. But then I get to come home and feel grounded and remember who I am and be myself. Like I really feel like it keeps me grounded and I love this city. I love the vibe. I think I personally, especially now, feel, safer here than I would, in the States. Of course, Europe is always calling, but it's like, and I love New York so much, but I love to go and, have a whirlwind, beautiful time and then come back to my sort of grounded space with my dog in my house and, have that like just calm, like nest. I'm a Taurus, so it's like in my blood. It's hard to get me out sometimes, but I also have this part of me that just like wants to go, wants to do everything, but I have to have that balance.
Now, are you going to, like, obviously we have Osheaga, you have the Phono Festival also that's coming up this year. Um, do you plan to tour? Like, will you go places?
I'm definitely going to apply to some festivals. I think it's challenging because it's very expensive to tour for one. For two, I'm pretty conscious of like my carbon footprint. So I think if I'm going to tour, I want it to be really responsible and eco in any way that I can. And I think touring across the country can really not make sense for a lot of small artists, especially for the planet. So I'm trying to sort of figure out what my next plan is, but I'm definitely going to do like a Montreal non Osheaga show at some point that celebrates the EP and like an album launch. And so I'm doing Phono, I'm doing Ottawa City Folk. I just played in Kingston, and I'm gonna see. Like I would love to get on an opening slot. That made a lot of sense. But I'm kind of again, I'm going with the flow, and like it's kind of exciting. I really love that.
And do you find that, being a part of the LGBTQ plus community, like, do you have a lot of support and what does the community mean for you?
Yeah, I feel like I definitely do have a lot of support. I think that my community is everything. I love being queer. I have been my whole life, and I love being gender fluid and I love my, trans journey. And I feel really proud of who I am. And I think sometimes it's really challenging because the world is surely not made for people like me. And I still think I'm quite privileged in that regard. And there are just so many people who have it so much more difficult. I live somewhere safer. I can be myself. I have more support. And I really think a lot about the community that really doesn't have that, who is in constant danger. And so if my music reaches anybody, I hope that it reaches those people and that it brings them something.
We have to talk about your placements. Like, this is amazing that your songs are getting placed like in places like Grey's Anatomy and Orange is the New Black, and the list goes on and on. How did that part of your career actually take off? Because that's like a big deal.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. So I've been in a band called Cave Boy for the last 10 years, and we never really grew our team. We never got a label. Like we kind of always kept it pretty DIY. But the first member of our team that we got was a publisher. So they have been working with us for, yeah, over 10 years now. They're called Third Side Music, based in Montreal and in LA. And I just like can't say enough good things. They feel like part of my like career family at this point, and I love them all so much, and they've really grown as well in the last 10 years, and um, they've just they've just really believed in me as an artist and brought opportunities that like the Grace thing, like being able to bring that opportunity to me and believing that I could do it, even though I had never gotten anything like at that scope. Really like it leaves room for me to try, and then it worked out and it's amazing. But I was like, oh my God, this thing happened. That's crazy. And they're kind of like, it's not crazy. Like we believe in you. So I think they've just been a really integral part of my team, and I've learned a lot about sync and writing for sync and just that world and music supervisors. And I watch a lot of stuff. I try to listen a lot. I try to understand, what's going on and the emotions of the scenes to be able, like when I'm watching TV, I'm really listening to the music. And that's always been like, I mean, you think of those incredible moments in television or movies where you're just like, that song just like took me to wherever I needed to go, watching this. So it's kind of my favorite part about what I do for sure.
That's amazing. Now, before I let you go, I have a couple of quick questions for you so your fans can get to know you a little bit better. What is your favorite way to procrastinate?
My God. Reorganizing my house or like some kind of house project that I really didn't need to do. I mean, I'm gonna paint my walls. I don't know. Like it does.
That's great. Um, I don't know if you eat pizza, but if you do, like, what's your favorite topping?
Oh, olives. I mean, cheese, obviously.
Yeah.
Olives. I'd say like olives and onion, mushroom, olive, onion, mushroom.
Okay, that's fair. If you could be in a group text for like your favorite TV show, like as a kid, maybe the show's not even on the air anymore, but like what group text with the cast would you like to be a part of?
Like which cast, which show
Yeah.
from maybe childhood? Does the cast of Recess count?
That's amazing.
TV cartoon, right? I don't know. That's the first thing that popped in my head. I've always really resonated with TJ. So I'll say the cast of Recess.
That's cool. What's always in your fridge?
Hummus,
Yeah.
big time, big time. Hummus, oat milk. I'll pretty much always have the same things in my fridge.
Okay.
Uh, always like hummus, oat milk, sparkling water.
That's
Uh,
good.
I would say would be the top three.
One artist I interviewed, they said lettuce. I thought that was amazing. So
Love,
I do like
love
hummus.
that.
That's a good
Yeah,
answer. Um, what is the like if you were to head off on vacation, where are you going?
beach.
Okay.
Like southern Italy.
Okay.
Summer with beach, summer with food. I like food. I like sun. I love the sun. I love the ocean. Yeah, good food, good temperature, good
Amazing.
view.
Now, I know you're in a band, so obviously you understand what it's like to be with other people, in a group situation. Um, is there a boy band or a girl group that you wish you could like be a part of for like a day or like a performance?
I mean, I feel like a lot of people say Spice Girls, and it's because it's probably one of the most iconic.
Yep.
But like Spice Girls in, the 90s, like I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to be there. I want to be there then. Or if they need, a new member, sure, I we could talk about that
That's
too.
fair. The sixth spice. It's good.
Yeah. Yeah.
What message do you have for your Montreal fans?
Stay in school. I don't know. Enjoy the summer. It's so short.
Yeah.
And then soon we're gonna be so sad. And let's just forget for like 5 months. Let's just forget about feeling sad and go out, see shows, support local artists, support local art,
Hmm.
go see the underground stuff, like take yourself on adventures, just like really live in the summer because that is really the peak of, Montreal for sure.
Amazing. Thank you so much for doing this and congratulations on everything. And you're always welcome back on the show.
Thank you so much.
That is Mint Simon. Make sure you check out their Instagram handle for all their information at Mint Simon Says. And of course, make sure to get your hands on their debut EP called Camera.
Hey, it's Kelly Alexander, and thank you so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/Kelly Alexander Show, so you are the first in line for all the cool content coming your way.